No one gives perfect advice for any area of life. So in this video we're going to talk about advice giving. This is going to apply to anything in life. This is not going to be about a specific topic like lifting or something like that. I'm just going to keep this to one topic or multiple topics. I don't even know, but yeah, let's get into it. But so basically, I've seen a lot of this mindset where people they give advice and they think that's the best advice and this is what you should do. I think there's a lot of fanboyism going on, a lot of things like these, and I'll cover all these different topics one by one slowly. So, no one gives perfect advice about life. So this could be any area of life, fitness, self-improvement. This could be literally anything in life. Like nobody's ever going to give you perfect advice to anything. You have to take advice and then do what you will with that advice. You're not going to be able to really dictate where, like, if somebody's going to give you the right advice always. Like, you have to take advice and then try it, whatever it is, or take it with a grain of salt and see if it's actually true for you. That's how pretty much you figure out what is good advice, what is bad advice. But then again, it could be bad advice for another person and good advice for you. So that's something also to take into account in a lot of these things. Now, this fanboyism where people praise certain people, especially usually it's popular people on social media who give out advice. People praise these people for like being god-like or whatever and giving out perfect advice, even though there are usually smaller channels or something like that on YouTube, for example, who give out better advice. And there's this big channels giving out this trash advice and all these fanboys are believing the advice and spreading it. And then we get false information and all these other things because people just don't know how to do proper advising. And I think the problem is a lot of times that people just don't bother searching for information otherwise they don't know how to think for themselves, so they don't take advice with a grain of salt. They take everything like, oh, this must be true, and then maybe eventually they'll figure out it's not true. That's why a lot of people don't really achieve a lot in life, is because they're just not good at applying knowledge and they don't think critically for themselves. So how do you stop believing everything you hear, if that's what you do, or if you aren't aware of enough of yourself to actually avoid getting into these situations where you're like listening to one person, you think that's the golden advice? I would say, like, if you take advice from a specific channel that you think is like maybe a little bit underground and you think, oh, this guy knows everything, you know, he's not so popular, he's got the best advice because he's not so popular, and he just gives out advice that makes sense. Of course, I think there are people who do that. They give out good advice. There may be a smaller channel, but not even that makes it like, oh, he gives out good advice, because nobody gives out the best advice. You have to take everything and then try it for yourself, figure out what is good, what is not. I mean, I can say this for myself, I don't always give out the best advice. I'm not the best at articulating every video, for example. It's getting better. So I wouldn't take all of my advice as the truth and whatever, but I would say I try to give out the best advice that I can based on my own experience and situations in life and what I found works, and I try to generalize my information as much as I can for everybody, so that the advice would apply to as many people as possible in these videos. And that's pretty much how I try to do it. Now for the viewer, you're pretty much gonna have to take everything I or anybody else gives, take it with a grain of salt, then figure it out on your own head if it makes sense for you, or take a bunch of knowledge and just see what happens with it. Figure it out, think about it. And that's pretty much the conclusion of the video. This is not gonna be that long of a video. Pretty much just, I wanted to quickly give my take on this advice thing, where people just in any industry give out advice and people believe it without thinking for themselves, and I kind of wanted to just comment on that. And I think people should think for themselves and take advice from everybody to an extent, and then apply it to their own life and figure out what works, because everything's very individual to an extent. Though I do think a large portion of general advice can work for a large portion of people, and I found that out as well. It's just like, usually, like, let's say there's a fitness method. A certain fitness method might work for a lot of people, but then there might be a small percentage where it doesn't work. So that would be something where like general information works very well. But anyways, thank you for watching the video, and cheers.